The Chicago Bears apparently seem poised to use Roschon Johnson more in the game plan next week. Why is that going to help the Chicago Bears on top of Keenan Allen's pending return as well? But the Chicago Bears may also be going into their Week 4 matchup missing Darnell Wright, and that opens up opportunities for other offensive linemen. We'll talk about all that plus a little of the mailbag right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host here, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. And so Jeremy Fowler from ESPN said this in regards to Roschon Johnson. Watch for the Bears running back Roschon Johnson to possibly get an extended look this week. Chicago has struggled mightily to run the ball and turn to Johnson more of a bruiser for 8 carries in Week 3 versus the Colts. The Bears need to get downhill faster. Now, when you pair into this with comments made from Matt Eberflus and others, and also the performance, I think it does lean itself to us seeing more of Roschon Johnson in Week 4. Now, it took until Week 3 for Roschon between injuries and things like that to really start cracking that rotation and get in there for the Bears. But when you look at it, when it comes down to it, the Bears right now are 31st in the NFL in yards per game on the ground. So trying to find a way to get that going could do nothing but help the Chicago Bears improve this stagnant offense right now. And even with the offensive line being in the state that it's being in, I think that he can help out in that area as well, just being that bruiser who can just hit that gap and, try to take somebody down for a few extra yards. Now, this in no way means that, he's going to be starting. He's not taking the position from DeAndre Swift, at least right now. I think it's a first step maybe in that happening. And I know I've been in a conversation with a lot of Bears fans lately over Swift, and they're saying, well, after 3 games, how can you give up on Swift? It's like you got to go down with the performance, right? DeAndre Swift, per every advanced analytic, is the worst starting running back in football right now. Now, that's not completely on him. The offensive line comes into play in that for sure. But you have to also acknowledge that one of the questions when the Bears did sign DeAndre Swift was how much was he a product and being able to be as productive as what he was because of the lines that he had played behind both in Detroit and Philly. And I think there's something to be said there. He's still a talented back, I think, but talent doesn't transfer to every situation. Some talent does need that offensive line to be, and I'm not here to say that Khalil Herbert and Roschon Johnson don't as well, right? We'll see that. But I think the Bears owe it to themselves. They owe it to their players, and in trying to find and right the ship to go with what's working. And so far, Roschon Johnson has been, in one game sample size, more productive than any of the other backs that we can use. Now, that could trend differently in Week 4, and relying on him a little bit more, maybe some things become a little bit more exposed, and then we're not looking at him as being that much more productive behind that offensive line. And that again, of course, we'll evaluate when we get there. But the Bears owe it to themselves where they're trying to find something to get something going for this team on that offensive side of the ball to explore all avenues on what they can do. And Roschon Johnson is somebody who may be able to benefit from that there. So seeing Roschon Johnson, when you pair in with that, not even just the running ability, him in the passing game, he's by far our best pass blocking running back that we have, period. That's not up for discussion. The stats, everything matched that. That is why even last year under Luke Getsy, towards the end of that season, you started seeing Roschon play more snaps than the other running backs. And so, we'll see how that continues to develop. Roschon was a player that we were high on when he was drafted here by the Chicago Bears. You look at who he played behind in college, one of the more dominant collegiate running backs in a while. And so there's a lot of potential still there with Roschon to see what he can bring. And the Bears seem committed, at least now going into Week 4, to see if that trend continues. And if it does, hey, listen, if that gives the Bears an avenue and a lane to have a more productive run game as well as what he offers in the pass blocking, maybe at that point, if we see this for consecutive weeks leading up into the bye week, which I think, over these next 3 games, the Bears have a lot to see what they can prove and how much they can write. And then Ryan Poles and the coaching staff, they got a bye week in there to try to figure out what needs to be changed and altered with this team even further. But Roschon is a player that I think has definitely earned that. And we'll see, if it continues in Week 2, and if it does, then the questions are just going to get louder there. And we'll see. Another thing that's changing with this Bears team is Keenan Allen. We talked about it in an emergency episode. He missed the last couple of games. He was a limited participant in practice yesterday. We'll see how that progresses over the next few practices between now and Sunday if he becomes a full participant, has no setbacks. I think, getting Keenan Allen to return for this Bears team, it adds another weapon for you, another versatile piece with his route running, his size. Yeah, Rome Odunze has gotten in stride and, had an over 100-yard game, 52 pass attempts there, though. But there's no doubt that steps were made in the right direction. Adding another weapon to that in Keenan Allen, getting more production out of your running game if Roschon and these running backs are able to do that, with that change to Matt Pryor, which we'll talk about the offensive line because more changes could be coming there as well, is that the Bears could start righting this ship. And I say could because the offensive line still hasn't had huge changes. We'll talk about that. But getting your weapons, your quarterback making steps in the right direction, having a new dynamic to your running game, to maybe that can be a little bit more productive for you. And if the passing game becomes more of a weapon, then maybe the Bears can start, changing the tide here a little bit. But with that said, I said we'll talk about the changes to that offensive line. So one thing that we did get yesterday is that Mike Pryor is now the starting right guard outright. Last game he got the nod because of an injury to Nate Davis. He's just the starting right guard now. So even if Nate Davis is healthy, Matt Pryor, that's your starting right guard. And when you look at the time, the Bears handled the stunts and things like that better with Matt Pryor out there. And, what we said in that emergency episode yesterday just comes down to production. Who's bringing the production? And the Bears owe themselves that. And Matt Pryor came in and added some things. If you get Ryan Bates back healthy after his time on IR is done, and maybe you have Matt Pryor and Ryan Bates to add more solidarity on that offensive line, it is what it is. But this is still a black eye. And a lot of what we're going to talk about here on today's episodes are little black eyes on Ryan Poles' blemishes on his record, right? And every GM's going to have them. I want to be clear here. No way am I doing what some Bears fans are trying to do to Ryan Poles right now, like act like he's a terrible GM. But the evaluation of that offensive line talent, giving Nate Davis that guaranteed money for him to not play very much his first year here, and now already 3 games into his season, really, we're talking about the first game he was benched, right? But he held on to that starting position coming out of that because Ryan Bates went down with injury. But you're talking about 3 games into it, he's removed as your starter, and this is a guy who has a guaranteed contract, right? So it adds that question marks and those, like I said, those blemishes in some of Ryan Poles' decisions that are there. They're evident. They're there. You can't ignore them, or you can't ignore them if you want, but that's not going to make them go away. And this is something that Ryan Poles has to look at and try to evaluate. But we get another ding on that offensive line as Darnell Wright was out for practice in Wednesday's practice. And Matt Eberflus talked about what they're going to do as far as by committee if he's not able to go. And it sucks. He's out with a back injury. At his size and things, the Bears may want him to sit a game. Now, Matt Eberflus did say that he's hopeful that Darnell Wright will be day-to-day and he'll respond well enough to be ready for Sunday's game. But if they're not, he said this: Kieran Amagaje is one of our options to play at right tackle. The Amagaje's continuing to improve, and another option is putting Nate Davis at right guard and Matt Pryor at right tackle. We're looking for the best 5 offensive linemen. We don't want musical chairs in there. It's early in the season. We're looking for that. So here's the thing: Nate Davis, who lost the starting position, and to say that they're maybe looking at Matt Pryor at right tackle to still start Nate Davis, I get it. You want to explore all your options. To me, Nate Davis if you want more of the same, I'm glad hearing that Kieran Amagaje is one of their options that they're looking for there. But Matt Pryor, to me, you start him at right guard. I get it. You can bring him in at right tackle. And the Bears are going to have to try to piece some things together, right? If Darnell Wright is not able to go, at that point, you got to adjust the best way that you can. That would be unfortunate to see Nate Davis still start there at right guard after losing that position and things like that. But ultimately, it's up to the Bears to do what they can do. And, we'll see how things shake out for the Bears when it comes down to that. I hope that Darnell Wright is able to go. I hope improvements, having better players out there with him and Matt Pryor, we start seeing it. Because so far, and I said it in yesterday's episode, not Nate Davis. He's clearly regressed. We don't care. But Darnell Wright, through the statistics, the measurables so far, he's regressed. Now, that could come down to the center play, which has been subpar, the right guard play that has been subpar with Nate Davis out there. And maybe that plays a big role and a part into that as well. But Darnell Wright, we want to start seeing him get back on the right track. And the track that we kind of finished off and ended off last season with him on is that him being that one of those parts of this offensive line that we're looking at building around going forward. And so, we'll see what happened there. I wouldn't be mad if we see more of Kieran Amagaje. I think you want to see more of that young stud as well to see what he can bring and how he can continue to develop for this team as well. And we'll see what the Bears have in store and in plan in that area. Now, with that said, I said that this was going to be kind of a session of a lot of Ryan Poles' decisions. Now, this got tweeted out yesterday in regards to the other candidates that the Chicago Bears interviewed for their offensive coordinator position. And when you look at the stats through these statistics, Shane Waldron is the worst out of all these guys. So you look at first Clint Kubiak with the Saints. Right now, they're second in points. They're tied for ninth in total yards. And yards per play, they're seventh. Cliff Kingsbury, another guy that the Bears interviewed for their offensive coordinator position. Right now in points, they're third. In yards, sixth. In yards per play, eighth. Liam Cohen, another guy that the Bears interviewed. 15th in points, 26th in yards, 21st in yards per play. Greg Roman, 17th in points, tied for 17th. 25th in yards, and 20th in yards per play as well. Zach Robinson, who ended up going to the Falcons, 24th in points, 20th in yards, and 13th in yards per play. Then you get to Shane Waldron, 31st in points, 30th in yards, and 32nd in yards per play. Listen, he's the worst by the measurable statistics by that. Now, that's not taking a few things into consideration. I've already seen a lot of people run into that, the situations that those teams are in, how much they already had built out there, the offensive lines there. But when it comes down to it, it's just another thing that people are looking at and now making them squint at Ryan Poles' decisions and ask, what are we doing here, right? What are we doing? And so that is the thing, like Ryan Poles' evaluation of certain things. While certain positions he's done pretty damn good at. In other ones, in coaching decisions, because one could say Matt Eberflus staying on as the head coach. Ryan Poles was apparently the guy who was the most big on Matt Eberflus staying on as the head coach. Now, of course, those decisions are being looked at as funny in the light as well, right? So overall, Ryan Poles is now in an area where everybody's looking and saying, hey, you've made some good decisions, but the ones that you've missed on have really hurt this team. And, this is another thing that could turn around, right? The offensive line play is one thing. Shane Waldron's, listen, his play calling has been trash. Now, I'm hoping that some of it starts coming around, right? Because a fair question to be asked in that is, how much is Shane Waldron's play calling limited because of how bad he knows that offensive line is or whatever it is? But at the end of the day, they're facing a lot, man. Brad Biggs in the Chicago Tribune said this. Odds are greater that the team may make a move with offensive coordinator Shane Waldron if the offense remains a mess the next couple of weeks. Developing Caleb Williams is Waldron's number one job, and the Bears can feel like that's headed in the right direction. But there has to be some tangible improvement in the running game to give Williams a better chance. Let me repeat that. Odds are greater, right? When he asked if Shane Waldron is on the hot seat or Matt Eberflus are on the hot seat, he said odds are greater that the team may make a move with coordinator Shane Waldron. Now, he's not saying that that's something that the Bears are absolutely looking to do, but he's saying that that Shane Waldron may be the first head to roll over Matt Eberflus. Now, that's something that a lot of Bears fans aren't necessarily going to agree with. I can't wait to hear how you guys react and feel about this one. But I think ultimately, that question has to be there, right? What is going on? Shane Waldron has to start doing things. Now, he did say that it would be an extreme measure, so I want to be clear there. But it is what it is. Brad Biggs is somebody who he's not always right? But he very rarely just says things to just be saying them. He's not the Joe Cowley of Chicago Bears coverage, right? Like he doesn't just say shit to say shit like Cowley says with the Bulls. So hey, listen, it just makes you think. It makes you think of how much is out there and how much can you get right. And listen, let's talk about this game going in against the Rams, right? The Rams are struggling in a lot of the same ways the Bears offense is. The Rams, as far as scoring offense, are 20th in the league, 19 points per game. The Bears are averaging 17.7 points per game. When you look at the passing offense, they're 9th in the NFL. We got a secondary. We're not too worried about it. They are averaging 231 yards in the air per game. The Bears 176. The rushing offense, they are 29th in the league at 78, better than the Bears at only 72.7. But again, if you can make them one-dimensional, especially with our secondary, if you make the Rams have to be just a passing team, our secondary, I'm trusting that. Total offense, they're 19th in the NFL. So this is something that the Bears can come in here and try to. The Rams are also 10th in the league in penalties at 45 penalty yards per game. The Bears have 46. So these are things. The Rams have allowed the 7th most sacks in the league as well. At seventh least sacks in the league. Seventh most at 10. I'm getting confused there. The Rams also average a lot of turnovers. So this is where the Bears can start benefiting from. And let's hope can. Now the Rams have a scoring defense as well. 30.3 points per game allowed. That's 31st in the NFL. So listen, this is a game where the Bears can start getting some things right. Passing defense, they're 29th in the NFL, allowing 248. They also allowed 177 yards per game on the ground. This is where one of those games where I'm not calling it because the Bears haven't done enough for me to call anything. But this is one of those games where if the Bears can want to start riding their offensive ship, the Rams are going to offer up a good opportunity for the Bears to do that. Let's hope that they can. All right, with that said, we got one mailbag before we go today. This one's from Ant.
Yo, what up, fellas? Your boy Ant calling in to let you guys know I'm not as concerned as most people is or worried about the team right now. You know what I'm saying? The Bears right now. Simply because we was 0-4 last year. You know, everybody was worried. Everybody was concerned because of all the hype coming into that season. Well, we one win ahead of that team last year, and we got more talent than that team last year. And last season, we finished that season one blown lead and one win away from being in the playoffs. So I'm not too concerned about the team right now and what state it's in. But I am pissed off at the team for the poor decision making that has been going on. Start with Ryan Poles and his statement about the offensive line and how confident he is in the offensive line after how they played in the preseason, like the preseason really matters. Like, he knows better than that. Former player, GM, like, you know better than that. Preseason don't matter worth a dang because all you're doing is rushing straight towards somebody. Can they handle a straight rush? Yeah, they can handle a straight rush. But what they can't handle is stunts, twists, and all the other stuff. They can't handle it. They've proven it that they can't handle it. So that decision-making makes me upset. Upset at Matt Eberflus for his decision-making for allowing Shane Waldron to go into his game plan with his rookie quarterback throwing 51 passes. What rookie quarterback is good enough to throw 51 passes? Peyton Manning wasn't good enough. Andrew Luck wasn't good enough. Cam Newton wasn't good enough. Like, what makes you think this rookie is different and is good enough? C.J. Stroud wasn't good enough to throw 51 passes and win the game. It's just not a thing that rookie quarterbacks are able to do at this point in their career. That upsets me that he allowed his offensive coordinator to have that game plan against the worst run defense in the league. Like, no, I'd have been like, hey, go back and fix that. We need more runs. Like, we need more runs. Shane Waldron, he got a list of things that just makes you upset about whatever he does. Like I said, 51 passes in the game for your rookie, no. But to me, this is me. I like y'all opinion on it. But I don't think Shane Waldron wanted Caleb Williams because it seems like the game plans he's had for these 3 games has been tailored towards a veteran quarterback because those game plans don't seem like something a rookie quarterback should be able to grasp. Yeah, he can get through his progressions, but he can't get through his progressions, get the ball out, check the coverage, and all these other things that he has to do as a rookie versus what a veteran quarterback can. So I'm not under the impression that he wanted Caleb Williams right now versus him wanting a veteran quarterback.
All right, and so I get it why you're not so concerned about the Bears season. You point out a great thing. The Bears really improved later on in the season, and the fact that they are 1 win ahead. And like I said, if they can go into the bye week at 300 or above, that really, I think, says a lot. Now, the defense is a huge reason why the Bears are where they are. I don't think many people are going to argue or dismiss that. The Bears defense is legit. We just got to get this offense together, man. We got to start having at least a decent offense. Right now, our offense is god-awful, and it's in the toilet. It's trash, right? So you want to get to the point of having a competent offense. If you can do that, that gives you a big opportunity to start getting things in the right direction for this Bears offense. But pissed off at poor decision-making. You cooked, my brother, and I can't say enough. You absolutely cooked in the poor decision-making. Ryan Poles' evaluation of the offensive line, Matt Eberflus, and not stepping in. Like, listen, a speed option on 4th. I'm glad that he talked to Shane Waldron after the fact, but listen, that should have never been the play call there. And the Bears' overall decision-making and evaluation of key positions, key players, key talent that you brought in as well. Like I said, with Ryan Poles, he has blemishes. Chase Claypool was a blemish on that decision-making, right? I'm not giving Byron Pringle, those guys that he gave 1 year prove-it deals, I'm never going to say is a blemish because it's a 1 year deal where the Bears were at that point. I'm not worried about it. But the Nate Davis, the DeAndre Swift, so far these deals aren't looking good, and they're not looking like they're paying off for the Bears. Now, I'm one that I don't knock Poles for drafting a punter in the 4th round. Now, there was, I said before that there was a specific center there that could have helped the Bears a lot. So maybe there is that evaluation part in it, but then he got Karen Amagaje. He got Austin Booker, right? So, there are some questionable moves there for sure. But we do have to be better in our decision making. We got to be better in execution. And if we can start doing that, right, things can go in the right direction. Like I said, I'm going to criticize Ryan Poles for the decisions and where we are, because this is where we are now. That doesn't mean he can't fix it. And I am excited to see Ryan Poles, who's going into the offseason with theoretically one position group to worry the most about, and that's that offensive line. Allowing him to have a singular focus to see how that develops and how he can fix that then is something I am excited to see, and we'll see how that develops. But great voicemail, and thank you for leaving that. Like I said, you cooked, especially towards the end of that, and we appreciate it, man. Make sure you guys are following the show at Shy Bears Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bears related. That's thanks to you guys. And like I like to end every episode on, go Chi-Town up, Bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.